Hello, good day, and welcome to this video episode. This is another exploration of secret structure behind each and every single Quran words, which should deepen further our certainty that the 7th century text of Quran is improper to be understood or interpreted only as one version of truth from any single point of view. Our word of choice in this video would be the keyword of equals, or sawa. This word comes from three root SWY words, which occurs 83 times in the entire Quran. And it is distributed in 80 different verses, with only 3 of them containing 2 of the 3 root words. This illustrates a total of 77 SWY3 root words, placed in 77 different verses, plus 6 SWY3 root words, occurring together in 3 different verses, where all 80 verse, which contain 83 SWY3 root, is covering an area with the total of 1,429 words. The number 77 also directly reminds us of a tipped-off formula coming from the 87th verses of the 15th chapter, which define that the whole text of Quran was fulfilling a hidden algorithm of 7 frequently repeated. Beside pattern of 7, entrance to SWY3 root also contain mathematical arts based on its location index. This is located on the only set of 3 verse, which contain 2 of the SWY root words, where sum of word index from this set is equal with the total Quran verse, which contain SWY3 root, while sum of its sorted position in 83 SWY3 root list is also interesting, in relation with our special number of 7. While it does not apply to all 3 root in Quran, the SWY3 root words seems to fit into one or single concept. An abstract idea summarized by the keyword of equal, balance, or proportional. While the English translation word like fashioned, and established, is used for story of creation. There is definitely no restriction in Quran on how to interpret these words, which opens up the possibility for all diverse conceptual understanding of natural forces in our universe. The 11th verses of the 41st chapter, as one of 80 that contains SWY3 root, testify to this depth of Quran spirit, as the choice of willingly and unwillingly would serve better as a metaphor for the working of natural forces. While some may insist that heaven and earth may truly have their own unified free will or opinion, some there will be firm that all these is a symbolism, a personification for complex interaction of raw natural forces. To remind ourselves the freedom of free thinking, personal opinion, and diverse interpretation. Those who incline to metaphor or symbolism must not violate the rights of literal perspective, and vice versa, as there is always a possibility that a being with desire and free will may also hold such power to manipulate some extent of heaven and planets, in a manner beyond our present knowledge. But, whatever awareness and attitude given towards the presumed existence, or inexistence of such being, it should also be under the freedom of personal choice, without violating any human rights. This is a rarely noticed, theological spirit of Quran, as it is marked only by one conjunction word of if. And it only occurs silently 3 times in the 172nd of the 2nd, 114th of the 16th, and 37th of the 41st. In which all indirectly imply the recognition of any hypothetically different theological view. To dive further into the matter, we will focus on the central pronoun from previous 3 verses. First, there is only 8 words of him alone or Yahu, found in the entire 77,429 Quran words. Recalling 7 as Quran special number, only one from these 8 him alone, which is not reference to God. And as appear earlier, 3 remaining reference to God, is written with the conjunction of conditional if. While another 4 is without conditional if, as an exclusive subject to call, worship, prostrate or to be grateful to. Now, we forget all linear flow of those words and sentence, to investigate the indexing coordinate from all these, him alone. First, we observe that QV is the position for each of the 8 words, marked within the total 6,236 verse in Quran. Second, QW is the position for each of the 8 words, marked within the total 77,429 words in entire Quran. Third, VL is the verse length, or the total number of words, where each of the 8 him alone is located. Fourth, the category of God with if, God with no if, and Abraham father, each produce different set of A, B, and C. Now, we see what happen, when we take 7 reference to God, and then set aside Abraham father from calculation. We will see that, the appearing numbers, seems trying to tell us, that these 8 items will not be separated easily. Digging the structure deeper, the same number, seems to seriously challenge our limited, and literal understanding of Quran. Keeping in mind, that we are using only 7 out of 8, while preserving our specific with if, and with no if structure. These extra code behind verse length, should push us to a more flexible, adaptive, and rejuvenated perception to read the Quran. And what is revealed, from the 7 different 5-digit words position, is even more unlikely to be anything random. As our discovery seems to contradict an initial assumption on the substantial relevancy when we separate this 7 from its 8. Then the 4-digit verse index gives another shakes to any rigid perspective on what the 7 him alone might refer to. Finally, combination with complete verse index of the whole 8 words of him alone gives a clearer picture. As we can see, how chain of items from our latest calculation lead back to the 23rd verse of the 17th chapter. That the time-keeping sun and moon alone is inseparable, or require the wisdom and love of our older generation. All these seems to suggest that we might have mistaken the one, exclusively, only as a unique entity. While mathematically, it might also flexibly refer to something produced, unite, remained, or added to complete. Just like fuel, oxygen, and sparks to a fire, or soil, seed, and water to a growing plants, or a system, people, and their leaders to a society. Similar lesson seems to be concealed within 83 SWY3 root of the concept equals, or balance. It is a hidden numerical web from the only 4 SWY3 root, located as the first word in its verse, which curiously intertwined with the only 12 SWY3 root, located as the last word in its verse, and also interlocked with the only 12 SWY3 root, which refers to God and cosmological process, as well as entangled with the only 11 SWY3 root, on God and creation, or destruction of organism. This web is discovered between sum of address indexes of all previous 4 separately defined groups. While 2 group on first and last position seems to be a chronological order, representing the concept of time. Group on cosmic process, and creature creation, should logically represent event, which occurs within those time. And it is definitely hard to dismiss all these numerical relation as another random coincidence. But if we agree that it is systematically constructed, a scientific and rational story should appear for us. It is the hint that living being is just a smaller and continuous part of the larger cosmological process. That any life on a planet like Earth would have to wait until the hot thermonuclear dust and cloud stabilize, separated into star planets, and equalized all of its pushing and pulling forces of gravity. And without sun balanced in its chair, by the right distance, together with water on Earth's surface. The colorful story of organism evolution in any planet would be much smaller probability. And if cosmological process and creature life and death are within a clear relationship with time, it is understandable why some people decide then to simplify an identical term within the formula. And as we recall, that SWY3 root is composed by 83 words, where 77 of it occurs alone in a verse. It is amazing that by thematic grouping of each words, there is 11 distinct group of 7 words, which ignore each word's position based on chronological chapter and verse in Quran, along with one group of 6 words, which is also formed with its own unique categorical construction. It's interesting that each words in 4 out of these 11 group plus one group of 6 is all affected by external factors, while all remaining 7 group out of 11, or 49 words out of the 83, is not affected by external factors. Curiously, 34 and 6 has interesting arithmetic relation, with number 1429 as the total of SWY words area. The repeating 7 and 6 sub-element also seems to highlight the external factors of human decision-making. To summarize, 77 and 6 composition curiously appear in 2 different ways, by position, as well as by thematic category. As the 12th, and only 3 root thematic group with 6 words, the group of material possession is most interesting. Coincidentally, there is only 12 words referenced to time, from all the 1429 words covered by SWY3 root. This is 5LYL3 root, for the word night, and 7YWM3 root, for the word day and epoch. Interestingly, the 7YWM3 root is composed by 1 word of day, or yomi, and 6 word of epoch, or ayamin. And we can also see more and more evidence about the complicated matrix behind every single Quran words. The variable of 1-1 difference seems to warn the great responsibility burden of human intelligence. As the word epoch, or period, is used to signify million years of heaven and earth creation, while 1 day of human existence can now easily wipe out million years' work of evolution. It is vital then to make sure what is the prophetic highlight to be equalized in this SWY3 root. First, the group on people, wealth or possession is mathematically interesting to be calculated as a single unit. Coincidentally, 6 verse area from this group also cover the only 14 non-ambiguous keywords on wealth, which is all the keywords of wealth that can be found from the entire 1429 words covered by SWY3 root. Fascinatingly, these 14 is secretly designed into exact 2 contextual parts of 7 income and 7 expenses. Our next suspect is the only 6 FDL3 root, for the word favor or prefer, from the 1429 SWY3 root area. But our focus is the 7 phrase of path of equality, which curiously absent from any keyword of wealth. Fascinatingly, these numbers will reveal what is essential behind the phrase, path of equality, and the word, favor. First, we see that, path of equality and wealth seems to encompass the extent of capital by our special number of 7. While more arithmetic should further convince us that the web of numbers was not random or coincidence. Second, multiple bridges of derivative connection also interlinked all of our investigated group. And to summarize all these interconnection, favor, and path of equality seems to be simply concerned with capital. And if conceptual exploration is acceptable, capital minus favor may fit to be translated into paid wages. In other words, it suggests favor as a code or metaphor for unpaid wages, either by bankruptcy or by unfair economy. And that this unpaid wages also represented in other root as a distance to the concept of path of equality. Then we see that there is a bridge of 56 that connect all 3 variables of capital and favor to the path of equality. Simplifying these numbers arrangement suggests that favor is a derivative of paid wages, which is divided by 2. This paid wages reduction is certainly not for those who cannot access basic life necessities, like food, shelter, and education. Or those who are not certain, or assured, with all these privilege, in the next 3, 6, or 12 months ahead. Division by 2, of the paid wages component in the formula, seems to advise that certain profit should be returned. To provide a universal basic rights, and funding ecological interest, maybe, by doubling specific level of a taxed income. While other parts of income below this level will be exempt or protected from these drastic increase of taxes. And to separate by this fictional balancing, a clearly formulated income threshold would be a convenient number. Recalling the 1429 area covered by SWY3 route, number 34 seems to appear in various strategic location. There is also only 7 from the 1429 possibility of words having index of 34, with its insightful relation with previous set of 24 number. Or how is it only 1 of 80 SWY3 root verse having verse index of 34, which composed curiously by its half or by 17 words? Interestingly, 34 is also systematically coded behind the only 10 words of number from the 1429 SWY3 root words area. We now then generate a fictional minimum wage data of $506 from an imaginary country with 56 states. Then we see an example how R34 can be applied to another imaginary data of single individual income tax rates. And see how the top 2 income level, in this scenario, will valiantly answer their spiritual call of patriotism simply by paying higher taxes. And be recorded in timeline as transformers of society, involved in the providing of basic life necessities to the less fortunate. Returning to our earlier formula of 586 divided by 2, and convert it into 293rd rank, or position of prime numbers. Some may still doubt its accuracy, as a cryptic code, representing capital, minus favor, as paid wages. Insanely, 586 within all the 1429 words area covered by SWY3 root, curiously point to 13th word, in the 71st of the 16th. It is the word to, which marked a prophetic code, on the passing of provision, from employer to employee. While 293 in the same 1429, is the 15th word, in the 50th of the 6th on the keyword angel, as an algorithmic metaphor for labor. several arithmetic relation clearly suggest that these two separate location is designed to be understood as connected. As another rarely captured twist to the narrative, both denial, on claim of Allah treasure, and of labor identity in 50th of the 6th, seems to warn that corporate avoidance and false claim of good labor are both possible conflict of powers in the future. Recalling our earlier 24 ABCDEF, multiple subtle clue also lead to, or centered around, the same verse of 71st of the 16th. But if the integrity of this 24 ABCDEF matrix, on the story of capital or wealth still holds some doubt, these patterns, behind 8 primes of the 24 numbers, should get rid any uncertainty on how dense the Quran hidden code, or its massive structural connection, with story and theme behind each word, on its multi-fragmented level. And as a final exploration beyond the primes, the whole 24 numbers, on material wealth, on capital, and on favor and equality, will be explored from its total sum, either before, and also after per unit division, by 7 and 34, as our two spotlighted numbers. And what we discover, from these arithmetic examination, is another support, or confirmation over earlier findings, that all the numbers, was algorithmically constructed, to point direction, or focus, toward two set of verse index, which is placed, or accessible, in various key location, either within structure of division by 7, or by the number 34. This two set is the 71st of the 16th, and 34th of the 41st, which sum up our very own modern problem, of wealth distribution. But our surprise, over Quran complex and hidden structure, on capital, and on path of equality, definitely does not stop here. As sooner or later, we will question its relation, with two strategic keyword, within the political realm of earth religions, which is Quran word of believer, or mu'min in, and of disbeliever, or kafir in, from the lens of a 7th century messenger, that was coded much too early, for our modern economic problem, while it's silently waiting, for the 21st century computer. By curious design, there is also only 24 from the 1429 SWY3 root area, where all of its index sum contain 71. Fascinatingly, this set of numbers exhibit an intricate web, with the total sum of Quran keyword of believer and disbeliever. It is an inspiring puzzle, of mathematical architecture, which traverse back and forth, between prime, and ordinary numbers, and away from dispute, over worship, and rituals, into the 21st era, where believe, and disbelieve, can become intense counterpart, arguing, over difference, on oikos and nomos of earth people, to address warning in 71st of the 16th, and in 34th of the 41st. Then there is also unusual math, connecting 24 ABCDEF capital theme of SWY3 root, and numbers from believe and disbelieve, which seems to elaborate that solving economic inequality is simply the prime and universal concern of the keyword believe and disbelieve. More important, this unusual mathematics seems to support the obvious global majority of people opinion about capital, that if a sound choice concerning personal wealth should be made, the giant and the micro cannot both have infinite growth, as individual giant should pay much larger or double taxes, as an example, on an income part above specific level, which should be determined or formulated by multiplication of the lowest wage of a society by a selected factors, where a sovereign government can then pass this infinite growth to the larger population of micro-enterprise. Another clear confirmation from the 1429 words of SWY3 root area, is the exact count of 24 root of HMN and KFR. Where 12 words of believe, and 12 of disbelieve, seems try to lead us to observe carefully, the 12-month in one Earth year. Because, jumping from one hyperlink to another, 34 will bring us to 77, and then into 19th, 20th, and 21st of the believe and disbelieve list. This systematic hint that capital inequality problem is the true issue between Quran conceptual believe and disbelieve. And it will likely be concentrated, or reaching its peak, in the 19th, 20th, and 21st century period of human civilization. Today, we can well recognize the accuracy of this prophecy, as we had witnessed ourselves, the undeniable roles of capital, especially during, and after, the past two World War, or in the ongoing degradation of our physical and mental well-being. Investigating from the believer and disbeliever side, we then isolate 254 verse, where both words coincide an entire Quran. Then we narrow down, or isolate further, our list of earlier suspected numbers, from these intersection of 254 words. And then we explore all these different unit of selection, based on the sum of its chapter and verse index. And surprise ourselves, how all these numerical element, of believer and disbeliever, is secretly designed by algorithm, and obviously prepared for a new horizon, different from what it may have been understood, in the past and ancient 7th century. Which is the same 71st of the 16th and 34th of the 41st verse, where none of believer, or disbeliever keyword even occurs. And as we would agree, that the whole sum, of 254 different chapter, and verse index, would greatly reduce any opinion of doubt. That believer, and disbeliever in social context, was simply ancient code, for today's different attitude, on matter of monetary policy. All these numbers, should then advance, and improve our understanding, on Quranic keywords of believe, and disbelieve. As any other language element, that can be extended, or given alternative, if not a fundamental shift of meaning. From a distant, and ancient, 7th century outdated context of keyword, into warnings of today's or modern economic contradiction. In a hidden, and meticulously designed, architecture of numbers, about a truly universal problem, for all human culture, and religion. Which definitely demands our attention, wisdom, and passion, to solve it quickly, in the best, and harmless way possible. With inclination to procedural, instrumental, or methodological approach, instead of emotionally destructive attitude. Nevertheless, we must remember that some people still do strongly believe in an infinite, personal acquisition of wealth, as a part of an unchallenged, individual rights, which sometimes enforced above other types of basic human rights. While those less fortunate, and exploited, is mostly thought as irresponsible, mentally ill, or driven only by drug addiction. Without grasping the systematic connection, of all problems, and the bad climate inside some mind, who dare to embrace it. And that some, or many, might be the ambassador, or embodied reflection of injustice, and cruelty, anywhere in the world. Relevant to this, 66 marked both entry and end of SWY3 root area, as well as key importance of politics in economic equality, which navigate us to prophecies, on the recurring importance, of management of assumption, and necessity of deception. Signs from 66 would then lead to 68, as it seems to be another important boundary marker, for defining the SWY3 root area. These only two verses, with the sum index 68, seems trying to prophesize the disadvantage of a completely liberal or free market economy. While the verse 16th of the 52nd resonate algorithmically into other verses from SWY3 root area, with exact same length and similar warning. And to uncover more proof that these prophecies was about macroeconomic regulation, instead of any specific faith or moral matter. The only 2JZY root of the keyword reward in the 1429 SWY area gives clue to a concealed numerical design, which confirms that today's devotion to welfare and rights of working people shall be above any individual financial greed. As the numbers clearly navigate us again to a capital or material problem, which surely is not judged only by personal taste. If 66 marks a beginning, and 68 marks a destination, the number 67 would logically be what happened in between. And this too hyperlinked verse confirm again our earlier lengthy analysis of Quranic prophecy on problems of capital. With an open-minded sense on keyword of book as a metaphor for anything, from macroeconomy, philosophy, to energy. Especially any systematic records of knowledge or truth, which seems to warn us about time, as the hidden codes suggest. And it is a depressingly little time, if we cannot agree on universal priorities of solving both economic and environment problem. As we do not know how accurate or what science hidden behind these ancient prophecy about the time frame of our existence. Returning to 67, there is another keyword besides book that we might also need to flex our mind muscle into. Because sometimes a label or term might be abused, complicated, or alienated from its universal purpose, which is simply to govern, regulate, direct, or manage human mind and behavior into survival, happiness, and good deeds. With all of its possible variety of understanding, forms, colors, and expressions, from different places, and diverse mind of Earth people. Even used as a reflection of anything that an intelligent creature can manifest, in the nanofraction of a cosmological time scale. While its unexpected metaphorical mutation, by the cold hand of algorithm, might have escaped, and surprised our awareness. Or how the flow of words shift its subject from one person's situation to another, without much attention from many readers. While we need to be inspired only by clear messages for today's problem, such as credit priority for the poor, or the micro-enterprise, with the final multiplication aim to empower other poor and micro-business, instead of adding wealth for the exceedingly rich. Finally, revisit to believe and disbelieve in SWY3 root area, remind us of a pointer for 19th, 20th, and 21st century, and then to number 77. Where it bring us into the only 23 words, with 77 numerals in its position index, inside the 1429 words of SWY3 root area, which conceal warning over a passing or future event of suffering, or even worse conflict, related with the problem of time and capital. The matrix of words and numbers may also illustrate two different most likely outcome, with one choice lead to tragic destruction, and another choice lead to one of many, but also among the most important human trait, which is being merciful. Even here, the numbers still trying to warn us that being merciful can be difficult in turbulent times. While other numbers also warn us against anyone who dare to sacrifice people's lives for wealth, for politics, and for power, with the worst possible power of destruction that any human capable to inflict on his own kind. As a lesson not to be pursued ever again to the bitter end, within historical relationship of the human species. As only a micro-fraction from the million secret of Quranic hidden knowledge, I hope this video is useful, entertains, or inspires for more helpful resource. Please do like, comment, or subscribe, and many thanks for your time.